If you follow high school sports in this town, then you've heard of John Parente and John Botello. Sometimes on the radio, or more recently, simulcasting with Wizards TV on the WWHS Wizards YouTube channel, this duo of West Warwick High School graduates has been there for many classic moments in Wizards sports history. They've brought many of those moments to residents of this area with spot-on play-by-play and color commentary served up with a side of humor.
He's the guy that sometimes signs the checks.
Very rarely.
Johnson accepts pass. Chance to bring it down to 5.
It is
maybe
5.
4 with a 3-pointer. I'm sorry. You told me not to look at the scoreboard.
Don't look at the scoreboard.
And when the games get close, they get better.
Rebound, Kyle Da Silva. 3-on-1, off on the right. Layup is good by Benas.
Nice pass, nice assist for Benas. Cuts the lead down to 3 for the Wizards.
This baby ain't over, folks. For Alex Johnson. He drives the lane, goes coast to coast, lays it up and in. And the lead, my friends, is 1. They were down by as many as 12 in the third quarter. The West Warwick Wizards have cut the lead to a point. The Wizards have a chance to grab the lead. 43-42, West Warwick has the lead. Wizards with an opportunity to go ahead by more. Da Silva for 3 from 26, it's good. Play action fake, the throw, down to the 3. And in for a West Warwick touchdown is DeAndre Chase.
We will get to know more about the men behind the microphones on this episode of the Words with Wizards podcast.
This is the Words with Wizards podcast, your look at the world through the lens of West Warwick High School. It's where we talk to interesting people, visit cool places, and sometimes hit on a big story. And at the end of it all, you'll learn a little more about what's going on in the land of the orange and black. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. And now, here's your host. A man who is always first in line for the buffet and last to leave the dinner table. Mr. Eric White.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. This is episode 17, and today is Thursday, April 29th, 2021. It's been a while since my last podcast, and the reasons for that are the two guys on the show today. Kind of. With the COVID pandemic, excluding and limiting attendance at sporting events, broadcasting West Warwick High School games went from a luxury to a necessity. Covering sports events live on our YouTube channel, the WWHS Wizards channel, is something we've been doing since 2019. So for the fall and winter sports seasons, we broadcast girls and boys soccer and basketball along with hockey. On most of those broadcasts, WWHS TV provided the pictures, and Mr. Parente and Mr. Botello, aka Johnny Boots, provided the sound for our viewers and their listeners on I-105.5 FM and 1450 AM. This season, counting football, we have simulcast more than 20 games together and have gotten to know each other pretty well. So I figured that my first show in a while had to start with them. This is part 1 of 2 because there's a lot of stuff in West Warwick sports history to talk about, and we all like to talk a lot. So without further ado, here's John Parente and Johnny Boots. Got a couple of West Warwick icons here. The inimitable John Parente. John Parente and John Botello, a.k.a. Johnny Boots, both born and raised, or at least raised in West Warwick. I think you guys were born nearby.
Yeah, I was.
And, we've gotten to know each other a lot lately. Unfortunately, due to the pandemic, we did do some broadcasting together before, but we've done a lot of broadcasting as of late, simulcasting with Wizards TV, WWHS Wizards YouTube channel, and I-105.5 and AM 1450. So it's been great to simulcast with you guys. We've gotten a lot of great reviews. I think we've helped catapult you guys to even a higher level of fame than you were before. But I want to thank you both for coming on.
Good to be here.
Nice to be here.
Thank you very much. And I want to go first. I want to start with you, Mr. Parente.
Age before beauty.
Age before beauty. That's right.
Definitely age.
You're definitely a beauty.
You've... hold on a second. Hey, there we go.
I actually started here doing the morning announcements for Miss Lukowitz and John J. Kelly, who was the principal at the time, back in 1970.
Wow.
September of 70.
And so you started there, and then you went to work for local radio from there, and eventually went on, and I'm going to let you fill in the blanks. You were the sports information director at CCRI?
Correct.
At one
You're on
point?
a roll. Keep going.
I'm on a roll. I stopped to read the wall on my way up here, so that was my...
He kisses that wall every time we leave the gym. I just want you to know
He's
that.
on the Athletic Wall of Fame. There's a lot of... I mean, this is a small town, but I think people who don't know this town would be surprised to walk through and see the number of people up there. We've got, Anna Sumpico was the superintendent of the state police. We've got... Bob Wiley. We've got John. We've got so many people who went on to
Like Rock?
Yeah, to bigger and better, and so many names that we're I hate to leave people out, but I just look and I'm thinking, Tom Garrick, Doug Haynes. I mean, the list goes on and on. So, so you went up. You've done just about everything. You've coached. You've done the radio. You've done TV.
I have.
So
I have a face for radio.
That's what my mother always tells me. I have a face for radio. Okay. And those are my good points. What got you into broadcasting in the first place?
A love of broadcasting. How's that?
Yeah.
But no, when I first had my tonsils, this is a wild story. When I had my tonsils out in like 1959, I loved radio, and I followed all the people who worked at the old WPRO AM, Joe A. Spivak and Joe Thomas, and later on Big Ange and Vic Armin, and of course Salty Brian. And I just found a fascination for it, and I was lucky because I knew then, at 4.5 years old, what I wanted to do with my life.
Wow.
And then, fortunately, I came to West Warwick and went right through the West Warwick school system. Had some opportunities to do some different things, like I said, including the morning notices every morning, which led up to the radio job at the old WSVP, which is now the station that Boots and I are working at in the AM side.
Yep.
Gotcha. I'm still waiting for Salty Brian to call no school Cranston. I'm still waiting for that. I grew up, Salty Brian was one of those names you mentioned, and I remember, I thought the kids in Foster Gloucester never went to school at all, ever. So, but that's really, I mean, you're hitting on the golden age of radio, really, here in Rhode Island.
And it really was. The opportunities existed, and basically the listenership counted on radio more than they count on naturally social media now. But Boots will tell you, people used to hang on every word, and nothing gave me more personal excitement than having to say, no school during the news, no school, and then a pregnant pause.
Oh, yeah.
Because I knew every kid and every parent in West Warwick Commentary Discouraged were listening to my next words.
Oh, absolutely.
I was one of them.
Yeah.
I believe it.
Absolutely, yeah. And speaking of that, let's jump to you, Johnny Boots. You and I are the same age, 25. Our daughters are the same age.
Exactly. It's kind of weird.
And tell me how you got started. I know you guys have been working together a while, but I'll shut up and let you tell me.
I got started in a weird way. Believe it or not, I was probably 12 or 13 at the time, and my neighbor, whose sister was the secretary at the radio station, which was next door to On the Rocks, needed someone to go shovel snow at the radio station. So I only lived probably at half a mile down the road.
Yeah.
And I still live in the same house. And she the neighbor called me up and said, hey, my sister Jane needs somebody to go down and shovel snow at the radio station. Would you want to go down there? They're going to pay you. I'm like, sure, I'll take a walk. And that's how it started. I shoveled the snow in front of the radio station, the walkway.
Yeah.
John Parente used to park every morning on the rocks, back his gray Ford Taurus in. And the station manager at the time, I believe, was Tom Iannitti. He was at the time the station manager, and he parked in the driveway next. And then, I was just the guy that shoveled snow. And then Hurricane Gloria happened in 1985, September of 1985, and that happened on a Friday. And on a Saturday, there was no snow, but I took my bike, and I thought I'd ride my bike down to the where the transmitter was. What was the address?
1501 Main Street.
1501 Main Street was the original studios of WSVP, WWRI, and the transmitter was in the basement. Well, after the hurricane, they were actually broadcasting from the actual transmitter site via generator because the antenna was across the Patuxent River from behind the radio station on 1501 Main Street. So
in a swamp.
In a swamp, and it still is in a swamp. A little bit better, a little more accessible than the actual swamp. But I took my bike down there, and John was there, and he said to me, hey, kid, you want to be an intern on Saturday nights and answer phone calls? Answer all request phones on a Saturday night show between 6 and midnight for this guy named Mike James, whose real name was Howard Davenport. I always said that. And I said, let me ask my mom and dad. And I called my father, and he says, if it's for Parente, yes, you can. It was 6 to midnight, and I answered phones for a radio station show called Hit Radio Saturday Night was the name of the show. And Mike James was the host, and we did an all-request show from 6 to midnight. And I used to answer the phones, erase the carts, and pull the records for the disc jockey. And from there...
You should probably explain what a cart is.
It looks like an 8-track tape.
Yeah, they played the commercials.
Exactly. It was like a 30 seconds, 60 seconds, 120, whatever it was.
And you and when I was at URI, I graduated in '93 with a degree in journalism. They still had carts when I did some play-by-play in color for football and basketball, but I also did the halftime show, and we still had those carts you had to put in.
I wish we still had them nowadays. Let me tell you.
I know everything's computerized nowadays. We'll get into that.
But that's how I started. I started out shoveling snow at WKRI, and it just progressed, and then I was a pain in the neck. I won't say the A word, but I was a pain in the neck to all the jocks there, and eventually I ended up being an intern for the afternoon drive show from 2 to 6. So I'd get off the bus because I went to Henriken. Believe it or not, I went to Henriken for a few years, and I would get off the Henriken bus in front of the radio station, and at just about 2 o'clock, and by 2:30 I was in the radio station interning for the afternoon show, and I did that every day because I wanted to learn every piece of radio, news, sports, afternoon drive, and it just snowballed into this until I actually became the afternoon drive guy my senior year in high school at West Warwick. I would leave here at 1:45 and be on the radio by 2 o'clock at WKRI doing the afternoon drive show myself. So.
And so you graduated. You came back from the dark side from Hendricken.
Yes.
And you graduated from West Warwick.
I graduated from West Warwick, and there was a split of my love of what I wanted to actually do. So. Go into radio broadcasting or become a firefighter. So I ended up becoming a firefighter full time, and I'll be retiring from the West Warwick Fire Department in 3 months from now, after 30 years. But I still kept my love of radio, and I dabbled in radio wherever I got my hands into it until Chris DiPaolo hired me in 2016. 2016. He and I rejoined together and became partners again in 2016 and doing what we're doing now.
And Chris owns the station that you guys both work for.
Yeah, we started out at I-95.5 which was actually a low power FM station.
I-95.1.
Did I say 5?
Yes, you did. That's all right.
95.1. Sorry, Chris.
It's not live, so we can go back and edit it.
I-95.1. I'm going to say it. It's like you, okay? It's like you when you do your broadcast.
There we go.
Oh, there it is. It was I-95.1.
I've got holding the sticker
when
up.
Chris and I rejoined with John, and we all came together, and we said, let's do local sports again. Let
me ask you this. When you went down there and shoveled and first got involved answering phones, how old were you?
14.
14. So 14, and now here you are. You and I are both turning the big 50 this year.
Yeah.
And the difference is you had a stable career all these years, and you're going to retire, and I'm going to be here till I'm 96. But but that's all right. I mean, the noble profession, you're saving lives, man.
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
did. I did that. I've done this for 30 years as a firefighter. So
Yeah,
it's
it's
time
a-
to move on and find other things to do. Maybe work full-time in radio for Chris.
Maybe be available for me to bother on a regular basis.
Absolutely. You can bother me anytime. I told you that from when you guys started this,
You
this
guys-
little venture, Wizards TV, Wizards Radio. You could bother me anytime.
You guys
For my
have-
alma mater.
You guys have been fantastic, I have to say, and I mean, I got my degree in journalism in '93, but I called some URI games, but it's been 30 years, and getting back into it again.
It's like riding a bike, Eric.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you get back on. You guys have been fantastic, and I think they're lucky to have you around here on the radio, and for us to put pictures there and to help our program grow is great. Let me ask you some questions, okay?
Go ahead.
I think the listening audience is dying to know. All right, I'll start with you, John Parente, and then Johnny Boots. You can jump
Okay.
in. Maybe
This seat's getting hot.
Maybe, well, maybe some of these answers are the same. What is the most embarrassing moment on air that you've ever had, radio or TV?
I've had 3 of them.
Okay.
None of them are
Clean?
exactly.
I can tell what they...
There were 3 moments that slipped. I'll give you the cleanest one.
Okay.
Perhaps one of the best days of my entire radio broadcasting career, news-wise, was when the chairman of both the Republican and Democratic parties asked me to run for election to the town council. 2 years ago, I had a just before that, I had a news story about an event 2 years ago during the 1982 general election. That is the tip of the iceberg. The other 2 are a little more
Okay.
profane,
Gotcha.
but we'll go with that one.
Gotcha. Slip of the tongue. Slip of the
Right.
tongue. Which happened?
There were
on-
3 slips of the tongue. That's about it.
Okay. Okay. There we go. Okay.
I've lowered myself because not everybody knows that.
I didn't know that story.
So how about you, Boots?
Most embarrassing, I have to say, and I was working, it wasn't at WKRI, it wasn't at I-105.5. I was doing traffic for the company that did traffic reports and for radio and television. And I'm glad, I was surprised I didn't get fired for this. And it was nothing bad. My most embarrassing moment was I got thrown on one Friday afternoon. I had stopped by to pick up my paycheck at the studios where we were located in Doran Street in downtown Providence. And the gentleman that was doing a radio report, traffic report, and it happened to be an unusually warm Friday afternoon. And the guy by the name of he's the Light 105 afternoon drive now, Vic Edwards.
Oh, yeah.
He was the program or manager of the facility. And he says, "Hey, Boots, you got to do a TV report. You got to do 2 TV. I just started that. I never did TV traffic reports before. And at the time, we weren't in front of a camera like they have now in Channel 10 and Channel 12.
So they just have your voice
It was
on
just a
TV?
voiceover, and then you'd have to control the maps. And I was using an old, it was brand new at the time, but it was a Mac computer, the ones that were all different colors. Do you remember those Mac computers that were different colors? Well, you had to do the maps on that.
Yeah.
And I had to do 2, one for Channel 10 and one for Channel 12. They both wanted an unusual traffic report because it was an unusually warm day in Rhode Island. And it was before Memorial Day, so the beaches weren't officially open, but they wanted a beach report.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I got to do 2? He goes, yeah, we're going to schedule them because I can't do them. I'm like, why can't you do them? Because I don't know, whatever. He couldn't do TV.
Yeah.
Whatever. So I had to do 12 first, then 10. It was getting confusing because they were talking to the producers at the studios and when they were doing it. Well, I used Johnny Boots on one, or John Botello on one station. I made up a name. They gave me a name, John Edwards, on another station, or John Allen on another station. Well, I gave the call letters for Channel 10 on Channel 12 and Channel 12 on Channel 10. That's the long story short.
Oh, God.
Yeah, Channel 12 Eyewitness News on Channel 10, and I don't know what they called Channel 10 at the time. I used it on Channel 12. I'm surprised I didn't. I'm surprised I continued to work there. And that was that wasn't recent. That was probably 2002,
Ooh.
2001, 2002.
Oh, hell no!
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
That's what
man.
Vic Edwards said to me at the time. I said, hey, you threw me in the mix.
Yeah.
I just stopped by to pick up a check.
There you go.
We'd like to take a moment to thank our sponsor, Local Music Watch New England. They specialize in bringing attention and support to the local live music scene. Based in West Warwick and Warwick, their goal is to make people aware of the local bands and venues that host these shows to show support of local musicians. With weekly schedules of live music performances across Rhode Island and other parts of New England, it's hard not to check them out. If you're interested in what they do, you can find them on Facebook at Local Music Watch New England or at lmwne.webadore.com.
Now, back to the show. The most memorable sports moment in West Warwick broadcasting. Most memorable sports moment, West Warwick broadcasting.
December 3rd, 1983. West Warwick beats Hendricken for the Division I Super Bowl with the greatest football team this town has ever seen.
Who was on that team? Do you remember? I mean, I do, but
I can remember both Tommy Garrick and Doug Haynes, two of the best athletes that have ever come out of this place.
Yeah.
Haynes was a running back. Tom Garrick, of course, was a wide receiver and defensive back, cornerback.
Yep.
I can remember the late Dan Sylvester, the basketball coach, running up and down the sidelines, just making sure that neither Haynes or Garrick got hurt. Because the basketball season started immediately after
That's
that
right.
game. But that is the pinnacle moment, probably the pinnacle moment in all West Warwick sports history.
Yeah. And and as you said, that was, not that others are not a real state championship, but that West Warwick team was the best in the state. Now we have 4 divisions, and you can win your your championship division, Division 1, Division 2, Division 3.
You're a man after my own heart,
and
Eric White, because I've been saying that for years.
Exactly.
It's been falling on deaf ears.
Yeah.
But
You win. I mean, our 2013 team won the Division 2 state title, but it's the Division 2 title.
Right.
And so that West Warwick team, I think we've got 24 football championships, if I'm not mistaken. But that one, I would agree with you.
that was the one.
Yeah, that was. I remember being at that
And
game.
this town stopped.
Yeah.
And it was one of those moments where I knew that I was reporting to an entire town that basically stopped to listen to the broadcast. There were signs at Rock's Market and the car wash that used to be on Ligris Avenue.
Yep.
Go Wizards.
Bay 10.
It was like Hoosiers.
Yeah.
And what was the broadcasting outlet that you were carrying that on?
On 1450 AM.
Just a radio station.
Yeah.
Just an AM I say just an AM station, but
Yeah.
that AM radio back then was your local connection.
Johnny Booth, your most memorable moment.
My most memorable moment, I'm trying to think here. I'm trying to think between WKRI and recently with I-1055 95.1. I think my most memorable moment, and I got to say it's a Coventry moment,
Okay.
is when Coventry beat West Warwick for the first time in years at that Thanksgiving Day game. I was happy for Coventry. My oldest daughter is a graduate of Coventry High School. Macy, you know Macy.
Yes.
Graduate of West Warwick and being an alum of West Warwick. But I have to say, I loved watching that Coventry team beat West Warwick and watching those kids on the field. They I don't know, they didn't realize what they had just done. I still don't think they realized what they had
It was
beat
the
West
first
Warwick
time in 17 years or
17 years? What was it? Do you remember how many years it's been since Coventry had
I want to
won?
say it was 13.
13 years. But I got to say that in being an alum of West Warwick, I shouldn't say this, but you know what? Coventry beat West Warwick handily.
Yep.
They deserved it. They won. That was my moment I enjoyed the most, seeing those Coventry kids. And it's about the kids.
And, it's funny you should mention that because the year before, they had West Warwick.
They had the
beat
lead. Yes, they did.
And lost it in the last minute.
Minute and a half.
And West Warwick escaped.
Escape. So it could have been 3 in a row for Coventry. So far, it's just 2 in a row, not knowing if they're going to play this year, which I don't think we're going to see them play this year. The way Coventry's winning right now, I don't think you're going to see a West Warwick Coventry game this year.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. And hopefully Thanksgiving we get back to watching, something other than the Detroit Lions. That would be nice. Okay, so how about this? And I'm trying not to create controversy, but best athlete, male and female, Mr. Parente, in West Warwick history. So
That we've seen, or
that you've seen, that you brought, that you've covered.
Covered?
Actually, If you wanted to go back before then, because there are a couple of people before, who do you think is the best male and then female athlete in West Warwick history, hands down?
I will give you my Mount Rushmore of
Okay.
West Warwick athletes. Mike Rourke, Tom Garrick, Doug Haynes. And the fourth could be Dr. Walter Juzik. All tremendous athletes.
For male.
Rodney Quinn is another.
Yeah.
Female, Carrie Giroux, Marissa Patricia,
Deb Petrasic.
Deb Petrasic, maybe Missy Petrarca.
Yeah, you can put Missy Matraka in there. Linda Legue. Throw
Yeah.
her on there. I would agree with him. I
Yeah.
can't. I want to throw two other guys in there that maybe are just below the Mount Rushmore. I would put Chuck Palumbo in there. I graduated with him. Matt Rajat and Jason Rajat. I'll throw those three in there as well.
Gotcha.
Just because I graduated with them, went to school with them. They were great athletes.
Yeah.
And Jason went to the minor leagues, pitched for the minor leagues for a few
10 years.
10 years in the minor leagues. Chuck went on to play for CCRI. We covered him when we played for CCRI when they went to the JUCO.
Went on to Southwest Missouri State
Yep,
on
South-
scholarship,
Yeah.
and then became
A WWE wrestler.
Oh, yeah.
And I don't remember his name because I didn't follow him into
Chuck
the
Palumbo, and then he was something else.
something else. But
Yeah.
but Matt unfortunately got redshirted his first year at UMass, and then unfortunately had a knee injury his sophomore year, and I don't think he played. I don't think he played anymore after that.
I don't think he did. However,
Yeah.
he did do very well for himself
Yeah,
as a
physical therapist.
Physical therapist, right?
Great.
Yeah, so those are mine. But I'll agree with John. But I'm going to add those three at the bottom.
Gotcha. Let's go to coaches. Best coach of a male team, best coach of a female team in West Warwick history.
Oh, God. Go ahead.
Frank Masnicki,
Yep.
Dan Sylvester.
Yep.
Masnicki in football and Sylvester, obviously,
Basketball. Well, Masnicki also coached baseball for a long while as
Oh,
well.
that's right. Yes.
Female, Mike Kelly.
Mike Kelly. Yeah,
Girls basketball.
I'll agree with you there. I can't. There's nobody else better at female basketball. Mike Kelly was the tops. And Dan, I was on Dan's team my senior year. Dan was phenomenal.
Dan
Rich,
helped bring me up.
Did he? Okay, so
Dan helped bring me up from when I was in the 7th grade, answering the phones for him at Deering Junior High, the old Deering.
Tell me a little bit about the girls' team.
I think the best team that I remember was the 88-89 team.
That's with Carrie Giroux.
with Carrie
Marissa
Drew.
Patricia.
Marissa Patricia was only a
2,000-point scorers.
Yeah, sophomore. So you had Carrie Giroux. No. My team, Tracy Giroux, Tina Brochu, Linda Legue, Carla Gonzalez. That was one of their better teams. And then you said that then 2 years later, then you go with the Carrie Giroux, the Marissa Patricias, the 2,000 points. He had some great teams. I'm trying to think if he won any championships.
Yes,
with
he
those.
did.
He did with the Carrie Giroux Marissa Patricia team. He didn't win with the Tracy Giroux, Linda Legue, Celine Lafreniere team. That I think they fell short in the
Notice
playoffs.
how Booth remembers all the girls.
Hey, well,
How many of those girls did you date? Out of the 11 on the team? 10?
Yeah.
9?
None. They were all just friends. Stop it now. He likes to start rumors.
All right, hold on. No pressure. How many?
None.
What makes broadcasting local sports so special?
I'll borrow a page from Amby Smith, the former sports editor of the Kent County Daily Times. You treat them like big leaguers. You have the opportunity to make them bigger than life the same way the network broadcasters make the Tom Bradys and the Ray Borks and the Larry Birds and the Magic Johnsons bigger than life. We have a little community here in West Warwick, but names can roll off the tongue of basically everybody you talk to because of people like Amby Smith and I guess us.
Us.
You guys.
Pete Fontaine went back in the day after Amby. I don't know. I like doing local sports, and I had my taste of being able to produce a URI basketball game not this past season, the season before. I filled in as a producer at URI, and John knows I did it with Steve McDonald. And
AKA Jim Shorts on Sports on HJY.
And I ended up filling in for the producer who happens to be our chief engineer at I-105.5. He couldn't do it, so he asked me if I'd do it. I said, sure. And I don't know. I enjoyed it. It was an experience. But I came back to doing basketball, and I said to him, I said, you know what? Give me local sports any day of the week. And then now we're calling kids that I went to school with. And it's just fun to watch them grow. I think we talked about it this past Friday night when we did a Coventry game in Smithfield, and we're watching this Coventry team just roll over teams. But 3 years ago, the Volkers, who else we're talking about? Turners, Will Turner, Tommy Turner. These are kids that 3 years ago they were getting rolled over themselves. Coventry was just the rag doll of their division, but now they're rolling over teams. Just to see these kids progress and grow is fun.
Eric, there's an uncommon purity. I guess that's what the words I'm groping for. These kids play for love of the game.
Yeah, exactly.
They're not playing for mega scholarships. They're not playing for any personal gratification. They're playing because they love to play, whatever their sport may be. You don't find that around very often. And being old school, and I guess I'm pretty old school,
I'm getting there.
You appreciate it more when you see how they attack the game the way it's supposed to be attacked.
Yeah. Do you think also, and one thing that I've found, it's been a while since I've covered college athletics, but these kids and the parents and the coaches seem so appreciative to get the coverage. Even though we've been there a lot lately, but it just seems that there's an appreciation there. And with these kids, I see them in the hall because I teach here at the high school. So, and just to see them, it's almost like it doesn't click. Oh, we're going to be on TV, or
it's
we're
funny
going to be
you
on the
should mention
radio.
that. I started broadcasting high school sports on April 19th, 1972. You can figure out the math.
Yeah.
This year, for the first time, I received a gift from a grandparent. A box of oranges and grapefruits from Florida. Because of the app, they were able to listen to their grandson play.
Excellent.
And they sent that citrus fruit in appreciation of the work that we had done.
That's great.
I should have shared a couple of oranges with you, Bruce.
That's okay.
You know what?
I got to say, John is the man. I'm just the guy in the background that puts it on the radio, gets it. He's the man. And I say that he's been my mentor. He's been my teacher. I remember when he was director of the Civic Center, and I used to do the afternoon drive. It's a funny story. I to this day I remember it. He was the director of the West Warwick Civic Center. I was doing my afternoon drive, and I had a little problem with my diction, and I probably still do. But he called me up at the radio station, get the back line. He says, "Listen, write this down. What? Double. Write the word double. Okay. Then write the letter U next to it. Now I want you to say it to me on the phone. Double U. Double U." I'm like, why? He goes, that's how you say the letter W. Not W. Not W. It's double U. And he's still teaching me to this day. And like I said, he's the mentor. He's my teacher. He always will be. I just get him on the radio. I play with him on the radio. We joke around. I bust his beans on the radio. It's just for fun. But he's the man. He's the one that got me into this radio station, into broadcasting. I owe it all to him, and I'll say it publicly. And he's still teaching me to this day, even from back in 1989 when he made that phone call to say, write down the word double, and then write down the letter U. That's how you say W. And to this day, so
I think, now you touched on this, I think the chemistry between the two of you is one of the things that makes the broadcast so good and so likable. I mean, not only, with the analysis of the game, which I think you're underrating yourself.
Oh, no, I don't analyze the game. I just joke about the game. I'm like the Dennis Miller of I-105.
You know a little more. You know a lot more than Dennis Miller about the sport. So I think you're underrating yourself.
I appreciate
as
that.
a color guy. And I know you're the producer, and you're wearing two hats, but you do a great job supporting. Supporting.
I want to make sure he gets on the radio and he provides the product that we're trying to perceive and put out there.
Yes.
Because he is the man. He does the broadcast. He is the product. You know what? If it wasn't for him, I'll joke around with him. He'll go to the men's room at halftime. We call it the John
Often.
Parente. Often.
Yeah.
And I'll end up having to do the halftime show, which I've done. I've pretty much come to my own
did?
now after.
See, nobody told me this when I broadcast with him. He goes to the bathroom, and I was like, I'm trying to read the
His
score.
notes?
It's been a while, and I finally got it. I'm like -2 to the 6th power. I don't know.
So I do the halftime show, and he goes to the men's room, and that's fine. You know, that's my gig. I don't mind doing the halftime show, but you know what? It's him. It's him that does the broadcast. It's the product that we put out on the radio and on Wizards TV when we simulcast.
But wouldn't it be so much more boring if it was just my voice over and over and over and over again?
You know, I think having two people on, I've had to do a couple of games alone. I don't like doing that.
It's not a party.
It's not fun.
It's not. You know, and maybe I should just do voices and talk to myself. And
I
I'm not that good.
I hate when I have to leave him in the hands of somebody else.
Yeah.
I'll tell you that, and he knows this. And
Yeah.
a couple over this, I had some medical issues going over in February, and I couldn't be there. You know about
Yep,
it, John
yep,
does,
yep.
and I had to leave him in the hands of Chris DiPaolo, and he's fine. He's funny,
Yeah.
and they just don't know the chemistry that John and I have. They don't know when to shut up when the basketball hits the half court
Which is
line.
probably the first thing I ever taught you.
Exactly. When that ball hits the half court line, shut up. Okay, yeah, fine, I'll shut up.
When they break the huddle,
And they break the huddle, shut up, So I have to leave him in the hands of somebody else, and I cringe because I know his style. We work well together. We think alike.
Yeah.
I know when to shut up. He knows
Yeah.
when to talk. I know when to talk. And
Thanks for tuning in, and we will bring you part 2 of this interview very soon. All music and sound effects for the podcast come from WeVideo and Speechello, which I use along with Twisted Wave to produce the show. This has been a presentation of the Media Broadcasting and Journalism Pathway at West Warwick High School. If you're a student and interested in learning more about radio, TV, and journalism in general, then you can get in touch with me, Mr. White, at ewhite@www-ps.com. More information about the Pathway is also below on the YouTube version of this show. You can also listen to the Words with Wizards podcast on Spotify. The Pathway and shows like this are not possible without sponsor support. Part of being a sponsor is that you and your business can get exposure on this and other Pathway broadcasts. Funding goes toward the purchase of new equipment, student scholarships, and professional development. You can find more information on sponsorships, which are tax deductible, at the bottom of the YouTube version of this podcast. A big thank you to local Music Watch New England for their support of the show and Pathway. We'll see you back here soon. Till then, stay safe, stay informed, stay away from the buffet.